Welcome back. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with project goals, and I'm actually going to take this little canvas here and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to take this copy out, and what we can do is we can just make our own. You can barely see that, but we're going to bump that size right up. So we'll bump it up to 280. Okay, perfect. We're just going to make sure that that is like that. So the reason why I have this set up the way I do is because, well, not everyone in the room should come in and bring their own thoughts to the table without having to raise your hand, having to, talk out loud about it. Sometimes people are shy. Sometimes there are more dominant voices in the room. Give me 1 second. What is the goal of the project? Sometimes people just climb up. They don't really express what they truly believe is best for the project. Sometimes, generally if there's like a CEO in the room, I find that's usually the case if there's like a boss and somebody just want to speak up. So what I usually do is I give everyone stickies. So what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to create a frame. And this is going to be our sticky. So like I said, you can do this in Figma if you want.
Perfect.
That will be our sticky. That's a pretty big sticky. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to center this. And this frame is going to... So yeah, we can do this in Figma. I've done it in Figma before. I thought it was really helpful. We're just going to set up constraints. So that way when we resize this box, everything gets resized within. Okay. So we can actually get rid of a lot of these colors. Yeah, we can just rename this. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask the main question of a project. Oh, what is the project goal? Or what is the goal of the project? And we're going to get everyone to write down on stickies what they believe is the goal of the project. So basically using like that Google sprint model of, diverge, go off and do your own thing. And then after, post those stickies on the whiteboard or the digital whiteboard, whichever one you feel comfortable with or whichever one you're forced to use in a moment. And then converge, come together to kind of rank them, ask questions about them, see which goals there are. There's using multiple goals, whether that's user goals, whether that's business goals, but we get to a good understanding of what like the main project goal is here. Now, let's get started. Like I said, we want to figure out what a successful outcome looks like at the end of this project. And like I said prior, it's done collaboratively. We really want to reveal everyone's perspectives, and then we can resolve any conflicting priorities. Now, understanding specific activities the software will help people do should help provide a solid foundation for making product decisions moving forward. Some questions and answers are as follows. What problems are you trying to solve for this project? So, some people may write something like, we want to extend the capabilities of the application. So you may be working on an existing application, so you may want to have like updates. And that's perfectly fine. That happens sometimes. So that could be one. Another one could be, we want to create an application to support a specific user task. And generally, this is what we kind of see, whether see people wanting to build a new application or extending the capabilities of an existing application. Sometimes we want to build an application for something specific that a user needs to do. I find that the best question to ask is something like, what outcomes do you hope this application helps you achieve during and, maybe directly after this engagement? So some answers may be something like make a sale to a customer, or sometimes a project will be more based on an MVP. Like, we need to present a proof of product to potential investors. Now you may be thinking, oh wow, these are way crazy goals. Like, this is not something I would have thought about. I was thinking maybe something like, I want to create an application to make sure people wake up if it's an alarm. But generally, sometimes there are other goals that we need to think about, and this helps us really prioritize the type of work that we're going to be working on in order to showcase certain things. Like, an example is, with this sticky, I often got this in my career. I still do sometimes. We want to create like a minimum viable product or an MVP so that we can show that to investors, to show them why our product is viable and what is the quickest way to get there. So what I usually do is I usually get all these different types of answers. I get people to come together and they're going to rank these. Sometimes it'll be overlap. Sometimes another person may say something like this. Create MVP, which is a minimum viable product. And these people will come together and be like, oh, this is pretty similar. So we'll just map these together and we'll just call this one a proof of product. And generally, if there are a lot of stickies that are similar, you'll know that that's a priority for that team or that client. And that's when you can really start ranking them. But this is done collaboratively. Now, what we really want to do is we want to get these people in the same room, like I mentioned, working together, and you want the right people there that are going to really help define the success of a project. And over here, you'll be able to really pull out what the goals of the project are. I'll give you one more example of what an answer could be. One could be, I want to attract early users and show that there is traction. So if I think about this goal, I think about, okay, maybe an example of our product with habitual. If we want to attract early users and show that there's traction, maybe we'll focus on different parts of the application. We'll say, well, what are ways that we can do this? An example being, we want to show that users are signing up. We want to show that users are selecting different types of categories or interests that pertain to them, and they're interacting with the application. They're coming back. The application is sticky. Pardon the pun. There are different ways that these goals could actually translate into things that you need to work on. And that's it for project goals.